What is it good for?
No, let's do the huh.
Oh.
War. Huh. Good.
What is it good for?
Absolutely none.
Say it again.
Okay. Enough of that silliness. Welcome back, folks. As we mentioned, or maybe as you
inferred.
As we implied or inferred, this entire episode is about the Boy Scouts. No, it's not. It's actually about us moving through Razor and War history.
And home.
And home and home front, if you will. Home front and...
grocery store front.
Fronts. It's all about the fronts.
Front line.
The front line versus the home front. And shaving throughout, as well as...
That's a mouthful. We're going to be talking about the history of razors and warfare and how they kind of correlated with what was happening at home and abroad.
First things first. You jumped. You totally jumped.
I did. It was shocking.
Let's do Skin Bracer. Now, we've talked about this in the past, but have we really talked about this in the past? This, my friends, is a vintage bottle of Skin Bracer by Menins.
Brace yourself.
And by vintage, I mean... it's from 1978. So it's not that old, but it's a repro. This whole episode's about repros. Not really, but bear with me. So, Matt...
the bottle looks like it's from the middle of the
I know, but
century.
you look at right there. It's the 100th anniversary edition.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's in such good condition. Now, people... historically on our show, I've always said when you're looking for vintage aftershaves, you don't want to buy something like this. But if the bottle's cool, you can sacrifice
disregard those rules.
Yeah, just disregard those rules. But because you don't want this much air in the bottle and have it passing through history. That's just begging to be, well, broken, if you will, when it comes to aftershave. And look at this, it is broken. You can see all these like particulates and whatnot floating in there. I don't know what that is. However, it does smell freaking awesome. I mean,
smells. Brace yourself. Hold on.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh, let me.
Yeah, you better
put it on a little bit more carefully.
Yeah.
I smell like 1978.
This is Skin Bracer.
Trying to
this
smell
is
like
classic.
1878.
This is classic Skin Bracer. Yeah, no, really. But excellent stuff. So keep that in mind. If the bottle's cool and you don't plan on using it, then this is an okay purchase. However, if you do, if you're really into collecting vintage aftershaves and using them, make sure the bottle's full. So, where do we begin?
Revolutionary War. Most people are on horseback. There's probably not even running water in the house.
No, there's definitely not. That's when scuttles were in use.
Scuttles are in use.
Not scuttles as we know, not lather scuttles like this.
Well, nothing like that.
Nothing like this, but mugs.
Yes.
Mug.
Yeah, mugs. And people just, people pretty much shaving in the kitchen. And so on the war front of the Revolutionary War, they're going to be using straight razors. That's really all that existed. And they're going to be trying to find some hot water if they can. Maybe they're making hot water at the fireside.
Or just not using hot water.
Yeah, cold water.
If you don't have hot water, you're going to be using cold water.
Cold water.
If you're even shaving at all. This is the Revolutionary War. We're talking about farmers. We're talking about people that didn't shave every day anyways.
Yeah.
The common man.
I doubt that shaving was really anywhere part of the requirements.
It wasn't a priority, I don't think.
No. Moving along, though.
I feel like I'm being rushed.
You always are Russian. The Civil War.
Now we're talking. This is some serious action.
Well, there's actual uniforms for
brother
the soldiers.
Versus brother.
Yeah, tore the country apart.
Red badge of courage.
Well, and there's also so we talked about horses. Yes, horses are still big, but we start having industrial revolution, cotton gin, trains. So stuff is moving along.
Yeah, you're right.
Moving. So, if you will, sir, bring over our Civil War items. Doug brought a really, really cool scuttle.
Yeah, this really is something else because a lot of the times you'll see like people that do war reenactments and whatnot, they always want to get reproductions done of stuff that was being used. And lately I've seen this trend where they're selling these ceramic mugs and saying that they're period accurate when they're not. Soldiers back then, maybe some of the officers were, but soldiers back then were not using ceramic mugs to shave with.
Much more basic.
They were using these tin scuttles right here, and you'll see a side packet for soap. It was like a bar soap they were using, and your main mug, if you will.
You can throw that like on the fire if you wanted to get it hot, or just use it as is.
Multi-purpose, you could use it to drink out of too. But the thing is, it's made out of tin. It's going to survive. Where ceramics weren't going to survive. They weren't going to last you throughout the war. So they weren't using ceramics, to my knowledge, anyways. If you know something else,
tell us.
Tell us below in the comments. But this, to me, this says Civil War all over it. In fact, when I bought this, I actually thought this was something someone made in 8th grade metals class.
I gotta be really honest. It looks like a soup tin that has a handle and another, the little pouch added on. It looks like a soup tin.
I was thinking tea. Like you keep the tea bag over here, And
Maybe.
you know, like you see teacup, but this is actually legit. This is from the Civil War and what they were using at that time. So I just think this is really cool. I mean, you can feel it's almost like the size of a tin can.
That's why I thought it was a tin can.
Yeah, and you know what? If you are interested in getting a reproduction, there is one site that I found that you can find period-accurate reproductions if that's something you're interested in, and that is, what is it? DixieTinWorks.com.
Not a sponsor.
Yeah, we're not a sponsor, but DixieTinWorks.com for period-accurate reproductions. And they're probably about $15. So totally cool with some history to it, and something you want in your shave kit.
So in terms of shaving blades, you're going to be looking at English blades, straight razors, still no safety razors, that are going to be mostly English. Germans really.
Though they won't say that on there.
Yeah. So this one
implied.
says Sheffield, no England. That means pre-1883, and still wedge style blades. Hollow grind really hasn't come out quite yet. That's going to be later in razor history, more like the Spanish-American War. You'll start seeing hollow grinds pop up. That's towards the end of the 1800s, early 1900s. The hollow grind, you know, hollowing out a straight razor to make it easier to upkeep.
Right.
Now that we got the really old ones out of the way, let's get to the good stuff. I want to get to World War I. This is early 20th century, 1915 or so. And these razors are the ones that a lot of people see all over the place.
It's true.
And the reason is Gillette got the contract. Now, why did they get a contract?
Because they're awesome.
Gillette got a contract from Uncle Sam to make and issue razors to all soldiers because they needed to have gas masks. They needed to protect against,
Mustard gas.
Mustard gas. They're in the trenches. It's foxhole warfare.
But even then, they were still rocking mustaches. Hitler himself was a victim of mustard gas because of his bushy mustache. That's why he opted for that little toothbrush mustache after the fact. Trivia for you.
Right. But they were still keeping it pretty close and pretty trim, especially the Americans, not those Germans. But, those Germans. Men at this point in time, Gillette had been out, to kind of relate us back here to history. Gillette had already been out for a little while. I mean, they've been out for maybe 15 years, so people definitely had heard of it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they had patents all over the world. That was the name you knew. It wouldn't be such a stretch for the military to go think Gillette first off.
Right. It's just like if, today we award the contract to Boeing or to Lockheed Martin to make something instead of, Joe Schmo's aviation company.
Yeah. Well, actually, we're more penny pinchers these days. We probably would go for Joe Schmo's.
Maybe.
In Asia.
But one of the really interesting things is not only do these razors get issued to the soldiers and do they get used in World War I, and
you get hooked.
Khaki sets and whatnot, officer set over here. But then when they left, they got to pretty much keep these sets, and so now they're used to having Gillette razors, Gillette blades, and it
Gillette.
It's
marketing
really
wise,
yeah.
You couldn't have asked for anything better, really.
Yeah.
So Gillette was stoked.
Yeah.
Now let's look at these kits, Matt. What do we got here?
Yeah,
You've seen this before in our past episodes, but in the past episodes, I didn't have my own. Now I have a khaki kit.
Yep. But you happen to have the civilian khaki kit.
As do you, Matt.
Yes, except for this one. But so there's a couple khaki sets like Doug is indicating. The most common one is this. It's like a pocket edition style. And the Army issued ones are going to say Proper U.S. Army on the top of the mirror and behind the mirror as well, Proper U.S. Army. And one last place on the guard, I'll say Proper U.S. Army. The civilian ones like Doug has, and I have one, they're usually in a lot nicer condition. Like, look at the difference here. This one went to war. This one you bought at the general store.
Yeah. This one stole your wife.
Yeah. So
this is the Dear John model.
But they're cool. Like Doug was showing, they
maybe.
have a little mirror to shave with. You got 2 thumbtacks to hang it up. Really, really common. They had other versions, a little fold-up one, even a deluxe officer set over here that had everything you want in it for $8.
And a whole lot of status.
A whole lot of stuff. So you walked up to the barracks with that guy.
You were like, hey, you must be an officer. Be like,
no, I just bought this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that is pretty much World War I. And again, we're using double-edged blades on more straight edges. People are really concerned about mustard gas, the seal.
Well, also, too, I mean, like, another reason why Gillette was chosen, or safety razors in general, is because they're quick, they're easier, and they're safer than straight razors.
Yeah,
we should probably touch upon that.
Could you imagine being in a foxhole and sitting there trying to strop?
Stop! Could you guys stop bombing for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was a real quick and easy way to stay clean shaven.
But we're seeing,
and you don't even need them. Yeah.
Well, if you cut yourself with a straight edge and you're in battle conditions,
oh yeah,
that
could be life or death.
You don't want to injure yourself.
That could be a life or death situation.
The enemy's already trying to kill you.
Yeah,
not the razor.
So safety razors are another reason where it was at, and so that in itself, that was the best advertisement in the world. Not only because guys are coming back with these things, but also they were introduced to safety razor shaving. And safety razor shaving might have been new to a lot of these guys.
Right, or newer for sure. Like I said, Gillette had only been out for 10 or 15 years when this contract came out. So, I mean, it was very new in relative scheme of things.
Cutting edge. This was new tech.
Last piece I'll just very quickly touch upon. I even have an original set here with a letter dated from 1918 from a soldier that was found in the khaki set.
I have to see this.
Doug has to examine it. So he's going to put on his examination
My Dr.
gloves.
Coldfinger gloves.
I don't let him touch anything from the collection.
No, he doesn't. I'm a soap maker. Go figure.
Well, he's also got sweaty palms.
But they're clean, sweaty palms.
Yeah, but it's really cool nonetheless.
Yeah, this really like humanizes it. I mean, this really puts the razor in context. And this guy, Mr. George,
He's talking about his experience.
Mr. George Johnson left Carlisle and Sullivan Co. July 26, 1918 for Camp Taylor. So he doesn't even have his rank in here. He's civilian.
He's
still.
just saying like I went to this place for training. Went
and
to this
he's writing
place.
in third person.
Yeah.
Stayed at the Camp Taylor 3 weeks and then was transferred to Camp McClellan, Alabama, August 16th, 1918, and arrived at. It's so interesting because it really does humanize. It really just
puts it into context.
Really puts it in historical context.
So that is World War I. Most of the sets you're going to find out there from that war. Moving along to World War II, let's also think about what's happened differently. Instead of people having horse and buggies and maybe a couple Model Ts here and there, you're now more into the late 30s, early 40s, and people are starting to own automobiles. The average man, the average
Oldsmobile.
Yeah, the economy
Jitterbug.
is a lot bigger, a lot more industry out there, but with industry comes the usage of materials, and raw materials were being used all over the place for the war effort. Nylon stockings were being used. A lot of
there was a shortage of nylon.
A lot of products you couldn't even buy anymore. One of those happened to be safety razors and safety razor blades. A lot of the little hones you see to keep your blade sharp actually came out in this time period where you couldn't buy blades readily.
Depression into this time period.
Yeah, 30s, 40s. I mean, World War II is what, 39?
Yeah.
So, okay.
I'm rushing him.
Don't rush me.
Don't rush me.
Gillette, now they did not get a contract, but they did happen to secure a position.
I wonder why.
Because
maybe they just felt it was unfair advantage. The government did it.
I don't think men had to shave. It wasn't this like deathly requirement. They weren't gas masks being used.
They were gas masks being used.
Some, but it wasn't all foxhole warfare. You got to think. There's guys.
No man's land.
There's guys in the air, right? The Air Force or the Army Air Corps it was called. My grandfather was in the Army Air Corps. And they're in they're in Italy, North Italy, Northern Africa. They're overseas in the Philippines.
But nerve gas? I think that's when they started using slugs as canaries in the. I could be wrong. It might have been First World War, but I'm pretty sure.
I think there was just so many different conditions that didn't require a razor set, but you could buy one. And this is from the quartermaster's office and
depot.
But like we said, the resources were limited. So instead of using brass parts, like all this is all brass over here.
They made do.
They had to make do, so you have aluminum and zinc and plastic, Bakelite, for the war sets. And so that's what you're going to find over here. This is one that was kind of sold.
I mean, there is no brass components to this at all. If you see this up close. Even the inside, I don't know if that's a metal thread in there.
It could be might like a little piece of lead.
Because I feel like that sounds like metal on metal. So there is something in it. It looks almost like lead.
I just said
okay. I said leather, which would have been weird. But yeah, and this is, I mean... Hear that?
Yeah, the ting always gives it away. That's aluminum. I think that's zinc, the other part. Because there's no ring. There's no ring to it.
Yeah, you're right. It's dead.
It's dead. Yeah.
So that could be like some type of pot metal.
Right.
And actually, wartime, pot metal was big.
You could melt down anything.
Yeah, you were melting everything. Down. So that in combination with Bakelite. I don't know why they didn't go the entire way and make it entirely Bakelite. That's what they were doing in Germany.
They did have a couple versions like this. This is all Bakelite. So, I guess it's still the zinc head. But, the guard on this
Granted, I do like that. I like the weight it gives. Right. But I just find, during that time... I think we'd think metal would be a luxury.
Another notable thing from this era is the camouflage blade. So in the war sets that could be bought to the quartermaster.
And we've talked about this so
Yeah, they had the camouflage blades, non-reflective.
Non-reflective, yeah.
Enemies don't see it.
Yeah. They do see the glimmer of the blade, however, but the wrapper, if you drop it on the ground, feel free to litter is what it all comes down to. It's camouflage. Imagine if all litter was camouflage. the world would look like a much cleaner place.
So World War II wraps up. The economy's booming. The GI Bill's out. Everyone is doing, the economy's booming.
Oh, yeah.
Technology is great.
Yeah. Suburbs are invented.
Yeah, but Korean War comes around. Early 50s.
Korea, still.
Yeah. So Gillette, again, the resources were not in such low demand that they couldn't make fancy razor sets like this. This is a Korean War era, 1949, 1950 tech set, beautiful eagle on the front, and then
Yeah, but they got cheap with the packaging.
it looks great. Yeah, versus all these muted colors and black plastic.
and cloth
They
containers.
had time for gold plating.
Excellent plating, might I add, too.
Yeah. But the tech razor is super popular in this time period. In fact, Gillette made big announcements, full-page newspapers, to the fact that they could finally get back into production of razors after spending most of World War II making injection modules on aircraft airplane engines. Aircraft airplane engines.
Whatever you said.
Plane flight. So, yeah, this is a cool tech razor, and it's all brass. So you guys have probably seen these out there.
Awesome.
Yeah, the time period you're going to be looking for is going to be either no date code, which has come up through 47, 48 through 950, or maybe Y or Z, 50, 51. But yeah, these are kind of your Korean War era.
And also,
pieces.
These are the things you find on eBay, and man, I just love it. The plating is always so excellent in these things. They stand the test of time with I don't know what it is about the tech, but I love them, how they always show up in
Classic
excellent
shaver,
condition.
classic razor.
It really is. Maybe it's just the fact that people used them for a year, tossed it in the drawer, and never used it again. Because they make it through history.
But okay, on history's note, one interesting thing: this is still in the era when Gillette thought that one razor for all men. What changes later as we go? The next.
What does that mean?
They thought they could only sell one razor handle, and every guy it worked fine with
You keep
everyone.
saying razor handle. I've noticed.
I think it's confusing when you say razor and then razor blade. I always say razor handle.
But then I just think handles, because today people actually have handles and whatnot, and buy just handles connect to the head.
Speaking of handles, in the mid '50s, Gillette came out with the Super Speed Trio series, trying to accommodate different beard types, and that corresponded later to the Toggle and Fat Boy razors. Hold on, almost there. And lastly, we get to Vietnam, which is in the 60s, and that's the kind of razor you see out. Is a razor that
I like how you tied all that together.
I
That's
tried.
really
There's a big ribbon on that too. Put a bow on top. So in the 60s, we're going to get to Vietnam, and this is going to be the razor that was making debuts everywhere. In fact, this razor was in one of the Bond movies, Goldfinger. They showed a slim adjustable.
That is right.
Same era.
Yeah.
And the cool thing with the slim adjustables, or any adjustable razors, is you turn the knob and you can get different levels of exposure of blade gap, blade angle, and you're going to be able to find the razor setting that's perfect for you. And a different guy like Doug could put, I may like 3, he may like 7. And,
7's a lucky number.
Yeah. But one razor to rule them all. This is like the Mordor razor.
I don't know what that means, but
Lord of the Rings?
I agree.
All right,
Oh,
sorry.
right.
One razor to rule them all. Okay. But yeah. And again, Vietnam, on that kind of war effort, I think it was mostly in jungles. Again, they're not having to wear gas masks, even though there was a lot of chemical warfare going on. But resources were certainly not in low demand. I mean, in the 60s, we have cars everywhere. We have high technology. Computers are starting to come out. And razors were equally as kind of getting innovative. That's also when you start seeing the advent of cartridge razors late in the 60s and trying to get away from double edge altogether. Plastics.
You know what, though? I'm going to have to step back a little.
All right, step it back.
We're still in the Second World War, people.
Oh, how could I forget?
No, I'll tell you how you're very American-centric over here.
Well, the Germans are coming.
The Germans are coming. This is what they were using on the other side, folks.
All right,
this is
let's
what
go to
the
the other
German
side.
soldiers were using. And if you see, the Germans were more into using Bakelite. Pretty much all, and the only parts they use is like just the fabricated pieces of metal here. But what you see over and over again is slants. They love their slants. And why, Matt?
Because they're more efficient.
Yeah,
It's like 2 passes with 1. It's like a down and a sideways all together.
it's good. Yeah, so you see the Neogam. Neogam was being used, the Fasan, the Arrow, the Mokuto, and they're all like variations of a slant.
Right.
This one being the most dramatic, the Neogam.
This is a lot less
Neogam.
dramatic.
But look at that.
Got to be in theater.
You would just pull this straight, and that would engage the slant action.
That's crazy.
A lot of people actually adjust the razor, which kills the slant action, but
How
this
do you
was...
load that then?
Oh, this is really cool.
It's almost militaristic. It's kind of like a clip.
Look at that. That's the inside. I don't know what that's just metal staining. But So yeah, this is what they were using over there.
Now, the interesting thing you note about materials, the Americans were having a problem with brass. I wonder if they use so much.
They did use brass. Well, on the facade that I have, they do use brass components. This is one of mine, but this is based on the facade. So I was trying to get it as close as possible, and so they did use brass fittings.
Okay.
From what I found, here's the LUTs as well.
The amazing thing, on a side note, back to history, because we're trying to relate this episode back to what was happening. Did you know that despite all the bombing of Germany, all the crazy war effort that was happening, their gross domestic output really didn't go down all that much during the war? The factories were kept running. Women would work in the factories. They were trying to keep up with everything they were making. Like, it was pretty insane.
There were some factories, though, taken out.
Well, of course. There's always factories taken out.
Braun, which we're going to get to in future episodes, but Braun, that was destroyed. They had to rebuild that.
I'm just saying that they had a very domineering spirit, obviously.
Yeah.
That they would not, let the products go down. Everyone was still trying to make as much as they could.
Slave labor. Go figure. Anyways, here's another one, too. The Arrow. Now, this one I wish I had the razor for. This is not a slant razor. And I can't even tell you what the material was that was made with, because I've never seen it. Yeah, don't have it.
If you've seen an Arrow razor, let us know.
Yeah, please comment below. But I do have the case, and the case is really cool. I've never seen a tin case like this either used for razors, have you?
No.
But the little pocket for the blades, the little rest for the handle right there. But really cool. When I saw this case, I had to have it. It looks like a kid's toy, like something that would, I don't know, model train parts.
Yeah.
But really cool. So, and also very collectible. Because again, I don't see many of these out there. So something for your collection, if there's a razor or not. It's better than just an empty box, right? But again, we'll turn to the LUTs. LUTs was also very popular. Mulcuto, and a lot of these things, a lot of these razors right here, they are hard to find, but a little tip, trick, and hack for you.
You can find them online at different
surplus.
Yep.
Military surplus, where you get badges and whatnot. A lot of the times you can find razors in there too. So names to look for are Neogam or Fasan, and they don't know what they have there. They're not selling to razor collectors. They're selling to military enthusiasts.
That's right.
So keep that in mind. I don't think I just gave that tip away.
Well,
that was
did.
High value, folks.
High value.
Now you know my secret.
So
you will see a lot of these that I just mentioned. This is what they were using across the way.
So we talked, I know we kind of rushed ahead with over here with American razors. We're up through the 60s over here.
Oh yeah, we're jumping.
I know, Vietnam. But after that, let's talk past Vietnam. We're now going to talk, I guess the next conflict is not till Gulf War?
Desert Storm.
Desert Storm, 90s. I still have my little Donald Rumsfeld.
The cards. The
yeah,
Desert
the little
Storm
playing
cards.
cards. Who had those
I have those cards.
It's ridiculous.
No, they're not playing cards. They're cards. They're collecting cards.
They're not playing cards. They're not for fun at all.
No, I still have them. New old stock.
They're very serious.
I also was delivering papers at that time, and I saved from the beginning of the war to the end of it every newspaper. I have a box of them still. I was filming. What was it? What was the big news channel back? Was it CNN? That blew up.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was CNN. I recorded from the get-go to the end. I thought I'd write about it eventually. But it went by like that. So, I mean, what do I really got to write?
So in terms of razors in 1990, 1991, I think it's pretty clear that we're going to have sensors are going to be the major razor. Cartridge razors are going to be out. I don't think the Mach 3 came out quite yet, but...
94 maybe?
Yeah, I think it was later the 90s. But mostly the sensor is going to be the big Gillette razor.
Yeah, that was
double
I got that in the mail.
Yeah,
when I turned
a lot
18.
of guys did, and that was one of the big marketing techniques that Gillette used.
Civil service. As soon as you signed up for the civil, they must have been trading information with Gillette.
DMV.
Oh,
if you
the
sign up
DMV.
to get a driver's license, they know your 18th birthday.
They were selling that information to Gillette.
Oh yeah, always. But yeah, and then today, with different conflicts overseas today, I think a lot of soldiers are still using, fusions, whatever, electric razors, whatever.
Well, you only have a few minutes to shave in a lot of
Right.
this, so.
But I don't know about you at Phoenix Artisan, but I know
shave.
at Razor Emporium, we have a lot of military customers who are calling in.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We send to a lot of APO addresses, and, I think this stuff has had a resurgence, not just, at home, but now on the front line.
No, it's true.
Think about the way that goes around.
The soldier was saying he just recently he used the entire time he was deployed. He used, I think it was my Grackle. And I was like, I would love to see pictures of that in the field. Like, send it out to me. He's like, yeah, next time I go. But so they're using them. You guys are using them. And we salute you.
That's really cool. Yeah. So, in a nutshell, the history of warfare and consumer razor history.
A home and abroad.
That's right.
Did I say a home?
Yeah, you did. A home.
A home.
A home for a bunny.
On another note,
Yeah, it's kind of dried down now. It's subtle.
It's still Skin Bracer. It's a 40-year-old bottle of Skin Bracer, but it's still Skin Bracer. It's still, I mean, how long are we wrapping for? 20 minutes here?
Yeah, probably.
It's doing well, folks.
It's not really potent. It's not going to last all day.
Again, I didn't buy this for the product inside. I bought it for the cool bottle, but I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Skin Bracer, we salute you as well. Well, that's been another.
Wrap it up episode.
Well, that's been another.
Episode.
Scorching! You're supposed to say scorching.
Okay, sorry. Cut!
Well, that's been another
Scorching!
episode of I'd Lather Be Shaving with
Doug and Matt.
You know, if you like, comment, and subscribe below, you are automatically entered into our contest where you will win, or giveaway rather, this lovely mug.
Yeah.
Which contains our mugs. This could be yours, folks, simply by commenting, liking. I know a lot of you already subscribed, and a lot of you already just liking it.
Share it, though.
But
Share.
comment. We're interested to know what you feel, or how you feel, or what you even know.
Are we wrong? Did you love this or hate this? Tell us.
We'd like to know. Actually, I just want to know if you're interested in it, but...
On that note...
I love the smell of...
Skin Bracer!
In the morning.
We'll see you next time.